got to earn your liberation. Say, you got to earn your liberation. Say, Coney, you got to earn your liberation. You do a while, like people that's ruminating around. Like it too. Yo, all the garments, pulse up, earn your liberation.
Yeah. What's up, world? Let me get this off the screen. Welcome back to Earn Your Liberation. Earn your liberation on the run eating. That's what it feels like over here. And I'm over. Hey, and I apologize off the top that I didn't bring the microphone with me. So I do apologize just to everybody. But I will say that I'm in Diallo's time zone, and I'm here.
Me too. I'm in Diallo's time zone and I'm here and on time. It's literally 7 o'clock here. 7:02.
Yeah, 7:02 in the AM.
Where you at? Houston? Too? You in Texas?
No. I'm in Montgomery, Alabama. For the Capital Matters Wealth Equity Symposium and Festival. So I'm surrounded. It's a whole bunch of entrepreneurs and black business people, but Ebony and Louise, who are soon going to make it to our platform, who I've been working with, who I've had the pleasure of doing some work with a little bit, and who have published their new book. They're sort of the headliners, and put me on to this. That is Louise Story and Ebony Reed in their new book, 15 Cents on the Dollar. They're sort of the headliners that got me invited to this joint. But as I'm looking at the roster and who my co-panelists are and all this, I might have to make a fast escape. They're surrounded by the black bourgeoisie. Speaking of which,
Diallo.
Yeah.
You know, Jared fishing for comments already this morning. Compliments.
What are you talking about?
Jared is in the panel with some people he respect, but we know Jared is gonna do his whenever.
Where is he?
He's in your time zone like me. Both of us in your time zone.
We're all in your time zone, and we made it here on time.
So basically,
y'all plan this. Y'all be conspiring against me.
I'm just saying, we just wanted to feel like what it feel like to wake up so early.
Right?
And all this
whack,
stuff.
Right?
But shit, I was up.
Shit is whack.
7 o'clock in the morning.
Y'all still on y'all, even though y'all here.
That's not how it works.
Your what they call it? Cascadian rhythms.
Time zoning and that white time zone is just the man stuff. That's white people stuff.
It is kinda though.
You're right.
And daylight savings time.
The US is still the only one to do it, right? They said they was gonna stop.
Man got a God complex.
Mm-hmm. What's up with you though, man? What you got going on over there?
I got some gardening, man. I got some starter plants I gotta plant and put outside. I got this little get together I gotta set up for. I'm exhausted.
What's up, man? You gonna do some mushroom farming?
Nah, man. Fungus. Me and fungus don't get along.
But I thought you eat mushroom too.
Yeah, I do, but I don't trust myself to
grow it.
Do it right. Yeah, fungi, man. I watched The Last of Us. I don't fuck around. But no, I got some tomatoes, some collards,
Tomatoes.
What else is over there? I got a bunch of starters that need. I got some watermelon that I planted way too early because of my hubris, and I got some arugula.
Wait, what y'all got a community garden? Where you got a garden at to do watermelon?
You know, community garden, man. This is guerrilla gardening.
Wait, where you gonna grow watermelon?
I couldn't live my life. This is guerrilla garden. This is underground trench gardening.
Where you gonna grow a watermelon at in Chicago? It's my I'm trying to figure.
On a balcony in the trenches, man. Like
That's your first time.
I live a different life. Huh?
Go ahead. You ever grew a watermelon on the balcony?
Yes. And cantaloupe. Got cherry tomatoes.
Well, let's you need to take us through that process.
In buckets.
I want to go through that process.
Huh?
I want to see that. I want to see that.
You couldn't handle it, man. Just stay in your lane, stay in your lifestyle. You know, community garden. Ain't no community for me to garden in, man. I live in the trenches.
Don't do that, because Detroit got community gardens.
Before you can get a community garden, I got a hood garden.
Oh, I want to see I want to see that balcony watermelon.
I'll send you pictures. Don't come around here. Don't ever. If you ain't never been to the ghetto, don't ever come to the ghetto. You can't understand. I'll send you some pictures, okay?
Shout out to Tretch.
Look at that.
Right.
Underrated MC, often left out of people's top 10 for some reason.
Like that.
We don't watch what's that little I keep calling it Move It On Up. Good Times. We keep watching Good Times, and now Diallo got to claim the hood from the Good Times.
You kept watching it?
No, I said we already watched. We finished. We done.
Shoot.
We done.
Actually, man, my housing project, white folks lied to y'all. Let me tell you and Jared, man, it's not like that in the hood. It is actually. Let me stop fronting. I just be trying to confirm y'all biases for y'all to give y'all a level of comfort, but the hood ain't like that.
So what's up, man? How we
that
doing?
Was it? I thought there's no elaborating. Okay, but
no, listen. Let me tell you. Okay, in my projects, man, it's like you had people stacked like this, and side to side, and stacked side to side. Efficiency, which I really don't have a problem with. Like density, population density, I think is a good thing. We as humans, being a the communal social primates that we are, I had no problem with the density, but the building materials are so cheap that you hear everything that everybody's going through. Like there's very little privacy. So the people, like, they build blocks and then they go a few feet and build another block, and each block had, like, some blocks had 6, which was 9, or 4, depending on where it was in this housing project. So we was all packed in tight and on top of each other. And in that community, I'd say less than 5%, I'd say less than 3% of people were involved in gangs, criminal activity, or anything like that. But that small fraction of people that lived in my hood painted the whole neighborhood. So every time I listen to NWA, them lying ass busters, they some fucking liars. And, it was kids in my neighborhood that used to make remote control cars out of scratch, used to go into the landfill and get old electronics and build stereos and stuff. There were kids that were into theater and all kind of real diverse shit, creative. And none of that shit ever got reflected. Every time I'd see the ghetto, I'd wake up in the ghetto and then turn on the white media and be like, God damn, I live in a hellhole. But that wasn't my experience. So they painted the ghetto, and it only took a small fraction. Like if I went to affluent white neighborhoods and only showed the meth heads and the kleptomaniac housewives, I could paint a picture of affluent white America to look like a suburban hellhole. So, it's propaganda. All that being said,
look at what Aaron Magruder did.
I always thought that was kind of punching down. I was never a fan of the Boondocks.
No, again, I would just quickly distinguish the strip from the TV show, and then I was just trying to make the point that he was able to paint my beloved suburb, my beloved tree-lined streets, as a hostile, racist.
Well, y'all had it coming.
Classicist place. How dare he? When I live in a utopia.
And my dad was locked up, but he used to write me letters on it, and he taught me how to be invisible. He would talk about how he's able to navigate very violent Missouri penal system. The state he was in, and always going between state and federal pen, and he would talk about the art of invisibility. And so I just would practice the art of invisibility in the hood, which, you know, kept me out of a lot of shit, because, you know, I would say some things that I didn't need to say, which would provoke some, you know, hostilities I had no business provoking. But I was able to get through, not unscathed, at least not psychologically unscathed, but, you know, I didn't get into a lot of shit that caught up my peers. So it's navigable. That's all I'm saying. But I just hate how they paint the hood. You know, I hate how suburban cats like Ice Cube and Dr. Dre and Eazy-E, who used to wait tables at his family restaurant, how these dudes wrote the narrative for the hood.
Oh, you know? That was good right there.
Yeah, the chairman of the National Black United Front Kansas City chapter was from California, and he grew up with Eazy-E's people, Eazy-E's uncles and them. And Eazy-E grew up, you know, like, you ever go to like an Asian family restaurant, they got their kids working, running between the registers and tables, heads barely over the top of, you could barely see their heads. That's how he grew up. And none of them cats.
Oh, wow.
You know, I don't even think Ice Cube ever even got a parking ticket. His record's cleaner than mine. And I always walk the line. So
see, and then here I was in these tree-lined streets thugging.
Yeah, now, and I was law-abiding like a motherfucker. I was law-abiding. You know, I was law-abiding. So, yeah. Anyway, it's just the propaganda of the hood.
Well, people can hear more about this live and direct if they follow the link Geechee just dropped in the chat as we all gather live in Baltimore on Malcolm X's birthday, May 19th at Nomu Nomu. Link in the show description, or if not, will soon be. And come on through if you're in the area and click those links and sign up, Eventbrite it up in advance if you can. But
by
yeah,
all means, if you can't make it, you can definitely show some love and send somebody else there. So we have the links of the donate and or tickets. Yeah. Sponsor a Diallo.
Yeah.
You could
in our efforts.
With any gracious donor, Diallo can eat. A gracious donation, Diallo can eat some vegan food and have a chai tea latte. Oat milk. I'm sorry.
It's very important. So look, we shout out to Afra Sings and all those who have sometimes expressed concern over the marathon shows we do week to week. But today, this one's for you because it's going to be a sharp exit right on time this morning. So it's going to be, relatively speaking, a limited EYL this Friday morning. So
I
where's
don't
know. He never
Detroit?
tells us.
This ain't Texas. I'm me and Beyonce got a concert today. Is my gains coming down since somebody said I'm oppressing the airs? Can y'all hear me lower? Or I'm going higher?
Do you travel with that?
Yeah.
And usually I travel with mine.
Damn.
And I'm not happy I didn't.
I don't travel.
I travel with the phone, man.
Well,
you're
a superstar, you know.
It can go right in my suitcase.
And they don't put you aside?
What they gonna put me aside for?
I guess, right.
For a mic?
Oh, no.
Who don't travel with a mic nowadays?
Oh man, I mean, I don't hang with you riffraff. I'm TSA pre-check now.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't mess with y'all, and I will leave. I already told my wife she better hurry up and sign up, or she get left too. I see you at the gate.
I've been hearing about this.
I mean, the biggest thing for me was for my back. I can't. That long standing. I've been broken up by the time, but not anymore.
You know what's interesting?
When-
Yesterday in Atlanta, TSA pre-check line was way longer than the other line.
Well, somebody broke down the yeah, that's what I need. I need that senior program. I'm one step away from you gonna see me getting pushed in them carts, driven in them carts. And I'm gonna be the first. Now, let me tell you, I do need to. Can I get something off my? I said this on Instagram yesterday, but I had a little incident with my fellow veterans. Speaking of getting on the plane early, because I'm, you know, if I can't afford first class, which I never can, I'm looking at them elders getting on, and I'm half a step away from being, you know, pushed in a wheelchair, getting early entrance onto these planes. But yesterday, from time to time, when they announce active duty military can go on the plane, I will go up to the attendant and politely, gently ask if it really only does apply to active duty, and do veterans not get similarly afforded accommodations, which usually we don't. Often enough, they'll usually be like, you know what? Come on. But not yesterday. And you know why? Not yesterday, because the woman said, I said what I said. I said, you know, what about veterans? Can we, you know, and I was just kind of like, why does it only apply to active duty? And then she started doing what she was going to do. She said, you know what? Let me see some ID. And I have a little veteran decal. So let me, you know, and I started to show it to her. And sure enough, right behind me, I hear, you're taking advantage of
stolen valor,
basically. And I turn around and it's this short little muscle bound, clearly steroid ridden, vein popping out of his neck dude with his girlfriend who looks like her collagen appointment went a little wrong. Them lips was. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because she says, you're being a dick. I said, what? I said, I'm just asking a question. I said, what? I said a dick. Oh, touch my birth. I said, and then he said, you're taking advantage of. I'm a veteran too, and you know, we respect the active duty. I said, my fault. I said, I didn't realize it mattered if I got shot at yesterday or if I'm getting shot at today. I said, okay. I said, but I said a dick. I said, well, but I said, how could we have gotten? So they did not give me, I didn't get on early. Wait to get on a plane. And this is the kicker. I get on the plane, and as I'm walking on, there they go sitting in first class. The same two sitting in first class. So as you know, you kind of get stuck there standing, waiting to get in, you know, as everybody's lining, going to the plane. I kind of stood there for a second. I said, oh, my. I said, imagine getting called out your name just for raising a question about your service. I said, I unbelieve. And muscle bound dude wouldn't look up. Steroids and collagen, all she did was give me the finger again. I said, oh. And old boy wouldn't even raise his head. I was just standing there it was probably only a few seconds, but it felt like a good while. I just kept saying, imagine that. Imagine a fellow serviceman disrespected. And then another one behind them chimes up also in first class and says, well, some of us again respect the active duty. And I said, imagine that. I said, all three of you in first class. I said, no wonder you're not pressed about who gets on early. I said, that's why we need a class analysis, even in the military. And then I just had my seat.
Rank analysis. Can I ask a question before we even start?
Steroids and collagen in there talking all this trash, calling me out my name. Imagine that.
But, you know, and I feel your pain. I'm very sorry for that. But why do they board first class first? Wouldn't it make more sense and be more efficient to board the back of the plane first?
Because they want that moment that I just described. They want you to stand there and watch them sitting there getting their drinks early and their little
walking over you and
yeah, but they actually don't walk. But the flight attendant will stop you from coming on and say, "Wait,
That's
let me
right.
go serve them," and
That's
then
right.
now you can go.
That's right. And they want that moment. They want you to suffer and see what you didn't pay for, what you
I don't
can't
suffer.
afford.
I don't
Well,
feel
that's the
bad
intent.
at
I know you
all.
don't. Nothing works on you. I'm just saying that's the intent.
Like
And
my
but
aunt,
I was happy for it yesterday because I just stood over there. I was like, "Oh, them steroids! This man can't even lift his head to look up at me after all that trash he talked." I was like, "You sitting in first class? That is just amazing. That is
Diallo goes
just
to first
amazing."
class sneezing.
it's weird. Society is weird. I don't understand. I just think they should board the back of the plane.
Well, according to my buddy passes that I get,
They would
if I
say
ever get in first class, they put me in first class last because that's the only seats available on the plane. But that don't really happen most of the time. So
yeah. I just think I don't know why we deal with it. I don't know why the back of the plane doesn't board first. They should tell the people with the furthest back seats to come on first and fill the plane from back to forward.
Again, you think of efficiency. This is class domination. They want that moment. Be
Over profit.
uncomfortable.
You know how much money they would save just saving that extra half hour every time a plane boards?
So you just want a socialist airline. Well, we should just start at socialism since you're talking your talk, and then you got that post that you had where you
I ain't got shit.
Oh Lord Jesus, help this guy.
I don't say what did I send stuff to you so I can go to it.
You send them posts on the I'll find it. Yeah, I'll never find it, man. No.
Which
he sent the one with somebody told him somebody to deal with the socialist posts. The
people don't want socialism. She did a survey.
A survey. Which I wonder where that survey came from, because
I didn't get a chance to look at it. I don't see it. Where was it in the chat?
I'm about to pull it up.
Oh, here, I got it.
I don't think. Well, did she tell you about the methodology, where she got it from, and who, and this and that?
About all that.
Because I'm just curious where she did this little survey at.
Listen, if somebody reaches some bullshit conclusion, I'm not gonna go back on it. I'm not gonna go back on it and fucking. But go on.
Let me just so we get everybody on the same page. It says here, a conundrum. I think that's pretty slick how she did that. I took a poll. Socialism is good. Socialism is bad. Socialism is fair. And it says here, socialism is bad got 61% to 16% only saying it's good. Now, I have a question for everyone who believes food, shelter, water, and healthcare is a basic human right and should be free for every human. All right. Food must be grown, water must be collected, shelter, who will provide the goods?
So fucking weird.
If they made to work for free, that is salary. If the government pays them, it's with money from others. If they're paid to provide goods, that's capitalism.
That's the fuck.
I'm not sure this is.
And I'm gonna go look into her methodology.
So how will it function?
No, I'm talking about the first part. I ain't talking about all that.
I don't want to hear why it should work, just to explain how it will work. Well, the first thing I thought of is, again, at minimum, to everybody who asks a serious question about how would socialism work, if you really want to get a contemporary example or argument for that, you should read Socialist Reconstruction from the Party for Socialism and Liberation, which I still want to finish reviewing on this platform. But I don't see anything serious in this, and I'm not sure how the poll was conducted. There's nothing that I see here about the method, but yeah, go ahead.
What stood out to me, aside from the comments, and it's just how stupid it is, just how inauthentic it is. That's why you like whatever methodology she used. I think the methodology she used is she reached around from behind and pulled all that nonsense out of her behind. I don't even know if that's the poll, but what made it stand out to me is I was talking because everybody's upset in Chicago because of all the money that they're giving to the migrants. Oh. It's just the mayor's walking up and down the street giving stacks on stacks on stacks, racks on racks on racks to
make it rain.
Yes. And so they were like, they're giving $50 million to migrants. They're giving $50 million. And that's like less than 1% of the Chicago's budget. The amount of money they're giving the migrants, thousands of them, of refugees. The Chicago will spend over 2 days. The Chicago will spend more than that over just, brutality lawsuits.
It's good to be a migrant.
It's almost $1 billion in police. So there's so much graft. I know everybody knows Chicago corruption. And so I live in a city where the working class and poor people are just fleeced. And they got this $50 million. Like, they got every black person in Chicago sniffing around and chasing down this $150 million, 0.42% of the annual budget. Like that, as if that $50 million would just transform us. If the Venezuelans hadn't arrived here less than a year ago, we would have been all right. So and the reason that stands out to me is because I know some real dyed-in-the-wool, knee-deep in the trenches activists and community organizers who are outraged about that $50 million. So I'm going to break down where the money's going. Actually, the money's going to professionals. The money's going to the nieces and nephews and cousins, social workers, facilitators, not-for-profit. So the money's not, it's just like when they say they're sending money to Ukraine and we don't really pay. We just hear, they give us a number and they give us a location or a population. And we're like, they getting all that money, when that's not how aid or allotments or allocations work. And so then I had this brother come and I started talking about how the elites and wealthy people are stealing hundreds of millions and billions of dollars from the city. Like Jeff Bezos got a whole hectares of land from the city of Chicago for literally $1. And these TIF funds, and so this brother came to me and was like, the wealthy people, the 35% of Chicago pays 40% of the taxes. And actually the wealthy people are not only a class that is unduly taxed, unduly burdened. It is also a class we should not just aspire to, but be grateful to. We're not even worthy. So this anti-socialism, pro-capitalist, bootlicking mentality is saturating the black working class. The lack of class consciousness, it has replaced, because back in the day, in the 80s, people would complain about, we're not conscious of our culture. We don't know where we come from. We got to know who we are. Where now you can even get the most foaming at the mouth Uncle Tom say, yes, I am African, or I'm very proud of my African heritage. Khalid Muhammad was like, the same black people that's like, I'm not African. I mean, ADOS excluded. Now you can get the average Negro to embrace their African heritage and their Negroid features. And now it's the lack of class consciousness has replaced the lack or the absence of cultural or historical consciousness, I think, in this time. So that's what disturbed me, to see that coming on, bumping heads with black activists coming to tell me I have undue hostility towards rich Chicagoans.
Just real quick, I'm just noticing this, but I think on the flyer, forgive the quick topic shift, just an interruption here, but I think on the flyer it says May 16th.
No, I fixed that.
Did you? So I got the wrong one?
You got the original flyer I sent.
I'm working with the wrong one? Okay.
That 9 be flipping on me.
You got that throwback. But
I got the throwback. Okay, my bad. Go ahead. Yeah.
But it's, I mean,
but you haven't been sharing that one. I'm sorry. If you go back, the one had 16th, and then the one that came after that in the feed has the 19th. I should have deleted the typo one.
All right. I just want to make sure that, because which one did I put in the little intro there?
Have to see. See, when I send y'all messages and stuff, I put typos and stuff in there just to see if y'all alert, to strengthen y'all.
No, but the thing is,
I don't make no mistakes.
Yeah, I just I got the wrong date in the video version. I'm working with, I don't think I have the updated version.
Diallo, you was kind, you was important, you special. Hey, so
better y'all.
Are we at, so y'all been around the block a little, little TT. Are we at a place where you feel like people understand socialism or articulate it more or less now from your maybe younger years? What like, I mean, students wise, obviously, Jared, you, but do you think that's because so my barber was telling me that he was surprised that his kid came home talking about socialism, so they're teaching socialism in school. But do you think we are even closer to understanding how to explain that? So one could say an extractive versus a regenerative economy, but I don't even know if people can even like shift through what an extractive economy is and why is it bad. So what do y'all think?
Well, my entire life, for the most part, from what I and I don't have the data in front of me, but it feels like not feels like it for the most part when people are asked. I think Pew has been doing this. Chomsky used to reference this. But when people are asked questions like, about universal health care, about labor rights, about adequate wages, about vacation, about military intervention, basically, it's like 2/3 of the country is constantly saying that they want these things. The only problem becomes when they're identified or labeled as socialist, then all of the centuries old anti-communism Red Scare tactics kick in, consciously or not, and people have a defensiveness. So the way I feel now, it seems, again, I haven't done any, I don't have not researched this. I'm not aware if research has been done on this, but it to me feels like there's more discussion of the term. There's more, it floats around in the atmosphere more, it's mentioned more, but I don't feel like there is an adequate, per the uptick in its reference, there's not a commensurate or parallel level of understanding or desire to find ways to implement. So whether it's still low percentage rates, relatively speaking, of unionization, or it's still certainly in many African world spaces, this anti-Eurocentric, anti-Marx white thing is still floating around, is associated with it, and I think there's enough anti-socialist propaganda still floating around that the insufficient level of advocacy for it, an explanation of how it would actually work and what it would actually mean and what it actually does mean, I just don't see it as being there. So not yet. So and a little bit, I'm often, again, I still remain a little concerned that when something is mentioned and discussed so much more, that I don't take that as a net positive in these days and times, given how much of the distortion and is how effective the distortion can be. But that's my initial thoughts on it.
Diallo, you've seen.
Well, when you're trying to, people are, and I know that don't apply to anybody watching this, but overall, I'm starting to notice that people are getting dumber. Kwame Ture said, American capitalism not only makes people stupid, it makes them arrogant in their stupidity. And so I think socialism, because now there's only one world superpower and no countries that matter still adhere to a socialist or communist economic system. Socialism or communism went from a impending threat to a childish pipe dream. And because information is so readily available, we live in a capitalist market economy. And we not only live in a capitalist market economy, we are deeply indoctrinated into it. So anything that's readily accessible or easily available is diminished in value because no one can draw a profit from it. So even the things that are surround us everywhere from water to air has to in some way not be commodified, or the people have to be taught that it's a rare thing, a limited series, in order to value it. And now because we all got supercomputers in our pocket and we can just access information readily in microseconds, I think knowledge and information has been devalued because it's everywhere and readily available. And as people devalue it, they don't curate it. They don't tend to it. You know, you got dudes like, I got my yard shoes that I work in my yard with, and then I have my night shoes that I step out on the city with. And so my yard shoes, I'll throw them down, and it don't mean nothing. But my rare shoes, I'll try to put them up on the shelf and keep them clean. So it's that same way with information and knowledge. So people are very dismissive of information. They put out bullshit like what we just went over, that research study, and those very pointing questions that made me abandon socialism. Because you know, if people don't get paid for work, you know, you can't get paid under socialism. You can't, the government, you know, anyway, just old school rhetoric. I mean, Ronald Reagan quality analysis in a time where we all have access to information. So all that to say is,
he died during our wedding.
Oh, blessings on blessings. That is truly a union of
That's
property.
Socialism right there.
And I keep bringing it 20th anniversary this June 5th.
You get to celebrate two for one. So anyway, I think people are dumber because information has been devalued because it's readily available. When I was coming up and people had to put real effort into getting information, I think they kind of valued shit. Dudes used to brag about the books they have, or the cassettes or recordings they had, or how many vinyl records of Dick Gregory or Malcolm X speeches they had. And when I was coming up, there were always lectures. There was always somebody coming to give a talk. Way in Kansas City, they brought Amos Wilson, Kwame Ture. Before I ever met these guys, I would get the cassette, or some of their speeches would be put on vinyl, and people's book collections. You come over and a dude showing you his book collection. Whereas now, I think the quality of people's analysis. I used to, back in the day, if I had to debate someone about advocating for socialism and saying we should be socialist and push for socialism, even though they would disagree with me, they weren't so intellectually lazy. They could be able to say, well, these are my issues with socialisms, or these are my reservations. Whereas now they're just like, who gonna farm? You know, how you going? You don't have to pay for nothing under socialism. You know, there's no incentive to work, like those arguments that have already been beat down and set aside.
Yeah.
So
I think I told you before, I had this conversation, and this brother was trying to explain to me, like, I don't want to work and somebody else get paid for my work. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, where are you at? Right. But also, like, I see in the comments of people talk about, like, somebody said something about China is an example of how socialism doesn't work and all silly stuff like that. But I wonder if there's one real knowledge around how people or governments are on socialist projects, or Nicaragua, Venezuela, Cuba. Well, again, like the project, I think it's a process. I don't think you just boom, you're a socialist government or a country. But how do you think this idea, or how do you think we can transition from production meeting the needs of elite or profit to production meeting primary needs of social needs, and also with like some type of environmental protection and ecological regeneration? So I guess, as Kali them call it, eco-socialism. How do you even see people being adjusted to that type of a mindset, or those type of values where production is geared towards need and all those basic human rights that I guess that person was trying to, you know, present? Like, how's that even going to come to a start if everybody is like literally not even trying to understand what socialism is?
Well, here's the issue. As far as production, humanity up to this point has pretty much solved the production problem. We grow more food than humans could eat. We have enough medicines. Now society has a access and distribution problem. And the problem with the access and distribution is that shit is behind a paywall. The only way that this society has figured out to distribute and to determine worthiness is not based on what you need. So you need housing, therefore you're worthy of housing. You need medicine, therefore you're worthy of medicine. You need food, therefore you're worthy of medicine. So instead of being for needs, it's what you can afford. So if you can afford a house, you can have multiple houses, even if you never. I know people that own properties they've never set foot in. I've known people who own properties they've never set one foot in. They only know it through a sheet of paper, like, oh, I own this. And it sits empty. It's not even investment or rental property or commercial. It's just something they bought out of a brochure, like, oh, I like this, and bought it and never set foot in it. So the problem, they've convinced us that, oh, you giving $50 million to Venezuelan refugees who deserve that and more, then I'm losing something because there's only so much money to go around. There's only so many refrigerators. And why there's only so many cars. There's only so much education, that I got to pay for school and the next man can't get it. So I got to pay for other people's education. There's only so much. So this artificial scarcity on top of this concept of worthiness and whether what people deserve or what people earn or don't deserve. Now we got to earn your leisure. That shit is insane. So there's enough for everyone. In fact, there's way more for everyone. And the things we value most and we most need are abundant and not renewable, but naturally renewing. Sunlight, soil, water. That shit is self-replicating and self-sustaining. We just got to get out of the way. So I think the problem now, above everything else, is menticide, people's concepts and understandings, more so than, well, it just ain't enough. Because that was a time when our agriculture production, most people's shoes were made in little cottage industry time. But now with the type of technology and infrastructure, production is no longer a problem. But they got us thinking, oh yeah, you can't just give people shoes, can't just give people a place to live, because who's going to make a buck? So this is not a needs-oriented society, not because there's a lack, but because there are billionaires who want to concentrate wealth. So it's a greed problem, and it's a consciousness problem. It's a class consciousness and reality problem.
Jerry, you got any ideas of how to shift people's idea around production? Because I think basic people who are being exploited by those people, they can understand that Jeff Bezos got enough money that he won't be able to spend, and somebody, and I think I don't remember that stat the other day, but 29 vacant properties per one homeless person. Like, people could see that, but like, what do you think it takes to shift people's values towards, like, again, producing according to need? And
not that differently from how Diallo describes it. I think a lot of it is an issue of messaging and narrative. So on the one hand, I think more has to be done among those who agree more or less with the ideas that would be described as socialism, to better organize ourselves and impose that will in any manner of forms onto other people. I think I keep mentioning the book because I find it very helpful in in making practical these concerns. What an actual government could look like that is socialist reconstruction, that what an actual government could look like given where we are right now, that we could advocate for if in fact there is the claimed desire to make change. So some of it is, again, we have to move beyond just critique and complaint and into some form of activity. But but I do think, and again, just largely because of my classroom, that is just dominates my experience, that it really is an issue of messaging and getting folks as quickly as possible attuned to some of the ideas that in terms of what socialism really is and its history. And to the point I think you mentioned already, how it is being applied in various ways around the world today. And a lot of that just has to do with encouraging people to break through what is ultimately the most powerful and harmful media environment ever constructed. And this is why when constantly asked and sometimes criticized, why my own focus is so often on Black spokespeople, is because they're the ones that have the greatest impact on Black audiences. It's not messaging that comes directly from Bezos per se, or Bill Gates or whoever, or the names we don't know. It's the conduits, the Black conduits of that messaging that come both in terms of punditry, news, analysis, so-called activism and politics, but also, of course, musically and pop in terms of cultural expression. So much just encourages business, entrepreneurialism, and so on and so on and so on, with that underlying socialism is white and somehow Black capitalism is African and revolutionary, which is a contradiction I still think is fascinating. But yeah. I saw somebody Brother Chris said Roland Martin. I mean, I do think, Roland Martin represents, to me, I don't know if this is what Chris meant, but that he does represent that layer that I'm talking about, of projecting anti-socialist, pro-capitalist messaging that I think has to be addressed. And I'm still struggling to find the best way to do it, but yeah.
So because we're gonna go a little shorter this time, we're gonna kind of like table the Q&A segment towards the end and see how many we can get. But there's a few one around socialism. But Diallo, I'll let you go. But I do have an interesting clip to transition into Stephen Apolitical. But go ahead, Diallo.
I think religion indoctrination is at the root of our inability to get to people. I think capitalism and religious apocalyptic religion, concepts of humans being unworthy, sinful, the concept of blessings, this notion that the world is a way station, even the Eastern religions of karma, and this is your life, and this is your life journey, and all that bullshit. I think a big part of, and we tend to act like these are separate fields, well, theology and economics, but I think if you can get somebody to believe that in creation and virgin birth, you can get people to believe in inheritance and land ownership, private land ownership. So I think that just the irrational mind is vulnerable to all forms of irrationality and exploitation. That's just.
So before we get to Roly Poly versus Stephen Apolitical's little argument over Trump, I just want to contextualize for those who forgot who Stephen A. Smith is and his centrism, that he argues that he's a centrist, and just let's just play a little clip of this clown.
Way too many countries that want socialism, right? But socialism, I wrote a chapter in my last book, Live Free or Die.
That's right.
So whatever form, manifestation, name, every time it's promised, promises are never fulfilled. It always ends in more poverty and a loss of freedom.
Let me tell you what I said. Let me tell somebody what I said in defense of you one time. I said, listen, I said, I'm a proud capitalist. I ain't apologizing for that to anybody.
We know that.
Right, that's right.
I read your contract.
I'm not, oh, there you go. I'm not apologizing for that to anybody.
Yeah.
But when you say socialism, I think there's another category. There are some people who don't oppose capitalism. They just believe that they don't have a fair and equitable shot at taking advantage of a capitalism.
And you would agree with me that any American that puts their head down, works hard, plays by the rules, provides goods and services that people want, need, and desire can succeed in this country.
I think they can, but that doesn't take away from the fact
I
that
love
there are
your
a lot
book,
of people that deny them.
and I love you as a friend. You're a good man.
Stephen
A. Smith.
First of all,
push him in the wall and cut him off.
what is with these black people being friends with fucking racist?
I mean, how did they even get on platform, Diallo? How did Stephen A. get on platform? He don't
They're
get on
not
platform.
friends. They
Shit.
are
Fist bump.
They're not
Yeah.
friends.
They
This
fist
is
bump.
all performance. They're not. This is
Oh,
performance.
okay.
They're all getting the
That
bag
makes me feel
together.
better, actually. Thank you.
This
I
is
Well,
was
this
always for the
is.
propaganda.
I think you got that reversed, Jared.
for it.
You've been in DC enough to see them white boys arguing on TV and then going across the street and get a drink together. So I think it's the performances when they argue with each other.
But even to me, that's part of the
See now,
performance too.
Geechee, I was
That's
feeling
part of
better.
the
Now I'm
act.
feeling bad again. Are they friends or not?
No, because my point isn't my point isn't so much, especially when it comes to these formations. I don't see them as actually, even when they go to across the street to have drinks and dinner, that's part of the business. When they're playing golf together, that's part of the business.
This
This
is
isn't this. Yeah, they're going to these social engagements as part of the performance. It is. I don't want to. I'm almost hesitant to use the word given how it's connected to all the conspiracy and Illuminati, but it is part of the initiation. You have to be able to navigate the wine and cheese discussions. You have to. Now I'm saying it.
Russell Brands are not brothers.
Listen.
I'm saying
to,
it's more of go ahead.
I was just saying shout out to my beloved brother Asafo. He had this tough struggle with a sister in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, who had a youth program that teach young people how to negotiate on the golf course. Black young kids. So to change their trajectory of success, they just have to, like Jared was saying, be in those rooms and be on those fields and make those deals with no damn money, no resources, no whatever.
I think I've come up with a way to solve this capitalist delusion. We need another word for pro-capitalist versus actual capitalist. Like back in the day, you had the monarchists. You had the monarchist, the people who supported monarchy, but understood they weren't monarchs themselves. And people who were willing to say, hey, I'm a monarchist. I don't want a Republican form of government. I don't want a civil government. I want a monarchy. And they were called monarchists. And they were even here in the United States. They did say we shouldn't have a president or elected representatives. We should have a monarchy. But they were monarchists. But no monarchist thought that they themselves were monarchs. They weren't monarchs, meaning that they understood what it took to be an actual monarch in the bloodline, right? So we have a lot of people that are pro-capitalist, but they're not capitalist. They don't even understand what a capitalist is or what it takes to be a capitalist. So what do we call? We need a term to call people who are pro-capitalist, but they are part of the labor force. They are capital. They are human resources.
I mean, but don't that fit in the Horatio algorithm? Because most of those people think one day they're gonna be the capitalists.
I agree, but
until
they get there, what do you call someone who is not an owner or controller of the means of production, but they support?
They're capping instead of capitalists.
I think if we could just get them to understand, look, this is a threshold. Because I see a lot of bumbling Negroes like Stephen A. Smith. Well, I'm a capitalist and I don't apologize. If what we need to establish, this is the threshold for being a capitalist. Because dudes think, oh, I got a Range Rover that I'm making payments on. I got a house, McMansion, that I'm making payments on with a 13% interest rate. I get in my bank account, I got, I'm a thousandaire. I'm on my way. I got me my own business, because both of that clip and the other one, hey, people think owning a business makes them a capitalist. As if markets, merchants, craftsmen, even guilds didn't exist before the system of capitalism ever came into play. So I think we need to lay out for people, this is the threshold from being a capitalist versus being a human resource. So we would have more people at least realize, no matter how much you love capitalism, no matter how much you aspire to be a capitalist, until you cross this threshold, you ain't no motherfucking capitalist, no matter how much you love them. If you ain't got that royal bloodline, you're not a monarch. No matter how much you love the monarch.
He's not a capitalist. So it's the contract that they just hinted to. I saw your contract. You're a capitalist. That means you can't be a capitalist if you get the contract because you're the contractor if you're the capitalist, right?
You are the capital. You are the resource. You can't be you can't be Ronald McDonald and the cow. Somebody got to be the product. So yeah.
So supposedly Stephen A. Smith did apologize and recant his statement. So what he was saying was that black people love Trump and they're supporting Trump, and they compared himself to Trump because he's similar to our political prisoners and other black civil rights people and leaders because he's under state repression. So my question to y'all two, I don't know if y'all saw the little beef. Is Roland getting a win in this argument now, or both of them wrong and both of them wasting our time?
Well, they're both wrong.
I didn't know that. What's the beef?
Oh yeah, well break that down. Let's lay that out first.
So
was there some
much,
clip somewhere? Do we have
I didn't find a super. But I think there's like Stephen A. Smith and Roland argument clip. But basically, Roland is saying like, how dare you compare our ancestors to Trump? And then he started saying, well, Trump has 66 indictments and he filed for bankrupt here and he's done all these other things and he's still walking around free. And our ancestors could never do that. So again, there were people who emotionally connected to the argument would side with Roland because Roland, the part that maybe is right, that's absurd comparison. But again, Jared, you said both of them are wrong. Even so, Roland argument is not holding up either.
Well, I mean, my point in that they're both wrong is that Roland, again, has set the leftward edge of his politics at the Democratic Party, and he himself is often condemnatory of politics left of the Democratic Party, including socialists or any other form of radical militant. He's constantly defending and advocating aggressively why we as black people or anyone else need to vote for the Democrats, and why and he's even aggressive and open in calling at the Democrats and the corporate world to fund black-owned media to help carry that water. And as we've shown here over the years, whether it's through Act Blue or any of these other formations, billions of dollars are funneled from the Democratic Party including to black-owned media, which relies historically on that relationship. They rely and have admitted it. Again, the late great Ron Walters, one of his last op-eds was about the how he lamented Obama's campaign initially not paying black-owned media the way the Democratic Party had previously, because it was assumed they had black people on lock. And black-owned media, in other words, he was acknowledging, was Walters, this need financially every 4 years at least to get this hit. So my point is that through that, again, as we were discussing earlier, it makes it harder for those on the left to raise more radical arguments, even about how we should engage electoral politics or anything else, in part because Roland Martin can position himself vis-a-vis a more conservative black person like Stephen A. Smith, and as we'll see here, go off, get his points, come off very well. He's very performative. I've seen it live and direct when he was at Morgan State. He's very good at interacting with the crowd and playing up the power and beauty of blackness. But then all of it culminates in a very soft and liberal politics. And then, but because of a Stephen A. Smith hanging out with Hannity and whomever else, Roland gets to look more. He's re-legitimate. He's given a new legitimacy as a progressive black spokesperson. That's why I think it's a problem. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Black folk don't identify with Donald Trump. Please, who could be in court and the judge issue a gag order, and then this person violates the gag order? Show me a black person in America who could insult a judge and his daughter and still be walking around free. Donald Trump did that. He did that. Black folk don't identify with Donald Trump.
That's most white people couldn't do that either. And I just don't. I just don't think that's the way to come at it in terms of, because it was said, because it's funny because Stephen A. Smith is sitting on Fox News, and Fox News asserted that after Trump's mugshot was released and after Trump's first indictments were handed down, they said that Trump would appeal to the Black community. This would increase his status amongst Black people. So he's sitting on a network. He's going to fight Roland Martin when he's sitting there chumming it up, fist bumping on the very network that advanced that very idea that Trump's criminality will make him more attractive to the Black mass. So which is it? You know, it's just, I just find it's weird in that arena, because like Stephen A. Smith and Roland Martin have identical goals. They just have different paths for reaching it. So when they bump heads and fight, it's kind of weird, because like you said, the Democrats and vote Democrat, where Stephen A. Smith, I don't think he's ever promoted Republicanism, has he?
I mean, he called
gotten pretty close. Yeah.
He called himself a centrist, and I mean, he has some.
The Democrats are centrist.
I mean, but he has Republican friends. I mean, I don't know. I've never heard him say much of him himself.
It seems like, yeah, it seems like they're just fighting over methodology. Like you said, pro-business, pro-capitalist, pro-Western, you know, pro-hyper-integrationist, entrepreneurial. I just think the real fight there is over tactic, strategy, and tones, not really outcome, because I think they want the identical outcome. So it's kind of hard to even, you know, referee this fight. You know, just check the coons for rabies and let them go at it.
So, I mean, he claims to be someone who stand with, you know, any oppressed people. And I mean, obviously he don't have any history of that. This is him back in 2009 with his thinking that he's again in the center and able to kind of like speak truth to both sides.
Well, he says he's expressed he wants to run for office. I think
we wouldn't be plagued by dudes like this if it wasn't for you ball fans. Wasn't he a sports commentator?
But I don't think so, because I think Stephen A. Smith would have still made it in. He would have been Charlemagne. Charlemagne had nothing to do with sports, and he made it. So Stephen A. would have been a Charlemagne in hip hop and entertainment. And
you saying if the sports door was closed, he'd have cut one, he'd have made one, and walked through it himself.
He's already doing that. Like that dude. Listen, him and Jason Whitlock gonna be wherever they be, even if it wasn't around.
That's another one. They get to play off of each other too. He gets to go at Jason Whitlock and come across as a more progressive, thoughtful person too. So there's even Whitlock is even a rung lower.
Let me tell y'all something. See, I blame Charlemagne's rise. I blame on the sisters. No, you know, because he started being Wendy Williams' sidekick.
Yeah.
Is that where he started?
The sisters.
No, well, I mean, he that's how he got big. But he started in Charleston at Z93. Then he went to Big DM in Columbia, and then he went to Philly.
Gossip show with Wendy Williams. He was Wendy, so that's the sisters' fault. Stephen A. Smith is all y'all brothers, cause ain't a goddamn barbershop back in the day, back in years ago. It ain't so much today, but back in the day. This dude was everywhere. I used to hear his mumbo blah, 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 blah. Everywhere I look, everywhere I go where brothers congregate, fucking Stephen A. Smith was on the goddamn screen. And I'm like, what is the appeal of this guy? And him just yelling and screaming about ball chasing. How do you get that emotionally invested in ball chasing?
Skip Bayless put him on.
I mean, I think it's
this dude on us.
Well, I don't know if it's them or the HBCUs, because I think he came from Winston-Salem State, and there was like him using big words and rhyming and stuff.
So now HBCUs get the blame.
I mean, how did dude get up here?
I mean, I don't know. I think that's probably where he came from, how he stuck and jived his way to the top.
I
But
don't
yeah.
know. But Stephen A. Smith, every morning he would set the tone for the whole hood. Everybody's gonna be debating whatever him and that scraggly white dude would debate about. Dudes be going back and forth over their arguments. I don't know the appeal of this guy. He's annoying. He's grating. That's all. But I don't know.
Well, but again, I think his appeal to black people is irrelevant.
Black men.
I think that's irrelevant at the end
Find
of
a
the day.
sister
It's his appeal to white men that's relevant.
Brothers. Y'all inflicted him on the hood.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't think Stephen A. has like a black audience like you think. Like, I mean,
that's why I'm saying his audience is white. That's why it's the white men that love Stephen A. Smith. The black audience is irrelevant. That's
then why Jamie Foxx do the dress up? Why he rubbing elbows and shoulders with every prominent black figure in the media? Just to, maybe he's falling off a little bit. But
I mean, you acting like proximity to whiteness don't make you more popular among black people, but that don't mean they rock with you. Like his proximity to whiteness is what makes.
Jared got one explanation of these friendships, and you gave me another. I don't know what to believe.
So you got to remember that's why. Huh?
He's friends with those white people that put him on. I'm almost certain.
You think they're actually friends?
Yes, Stephen A. Smith. Now, if you told me LeVar Ball or whatever his name, like, or somebody like that, but Stephen A. Smith, even the Shannon Sharp, like, you know, might not be technically friends with them, but Stephen A. Smith,
let him have that, Jared.
They friends.
Okay, friends. Yeah, but yeah, okay.
Also, shout out to Shay. I did taste the little Shay drink. My brother had it, and it just tastes like a more softer Hennessy, but it's the same type of cognac. So I mean, I don't know what people ranting and raving about that, but apparently it's smooth like a lady. But so yeah, I want you to kind of talk about this brother who you played the clip of, and I don't know if you got it queued up to him talking about your book, but he brought on. Now he didn't bring on, but he talked about Tom Sowell and talked about Claude Anderson, and he pretty much saying they land and they play in the same place. But he's actually kind of funny. Like I mean, I like the way he delivered his content. I actually never heard.
Yeah, I had never heard of him either, and I was sent this. I don't think I have it queued up, but I can find it real quick. But I commented on his page that I appreciated that he mentioned my book, and he seemed to do it fairly, which is rare these days. You know, I mean, I don't really talk that much about it, but I get, from time to time, I get a whole lot of vitriol, and I just got more yesterday, like very hostile messages from purportedly black men in particular, who got a lot of hostility towards what they think is my argument, and it's just wild. It's wild how much hostility. Now I can't find the link though. I was trying to stall and find this link, but I can't all of a sudden find the link.
Let me you got it in the chat.
I mean, that don't, what does that mean? I don't like these chats. The chats are too hard to navigate.
I mean, I don't got it on my computer, so
I'm looking for it, but you know what I'll do? You know where I have it? I got it on my Instagram.
It's under your anti Thomas Sowell thing. I'll do it.
Well, if you see it, send me the link, because I don't see it. That's my point.
Geechee's trying to show us how central and crucial he is to this broadcast.
Thank you.
Well, he got shit queued up. And then
damn, Diallo. Diallo, I'm starting to think you love me, bro. Like this is
here it is.
This is the next. This is the bro. We getting closer and closer to a compliment, so I appreciate that. I'm gonna take what I can.
It seems like
man, don't take it back. Don't take it back. Let me
show you.
In the office that always hides the staples, and he goes and hides the staples everywhere, and people are like, I need a staple, and he's like, I got you.
All right, I had put it
crucial to the operation, because without him, we couldn't function. When he's the one sabotaging shit to make himself just essential.
So I put this on my Instagram. This is We Gonna Be All Right is the name of the channel. And this is
recommended to me in the comment section of that video was Dr. Jared A. Ball, who wrote The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power. There he said, consumerism, spending habits, good or bad, do not determine collective wealth or an economic strength. No community becomes rich, nor can one become poor as a result of their spending. Black people are not poor for having missed out on previous opportunities or by choosing today out of some form of cultural deformity or intricable financial illiteracy to, as Jay-Z suggests, foolishly give away potential communal wealth by shopping. Jay-Z, like most commercial artists and art, reflects a racial and class politics often masked by talent and performance.
So I appreciated it. I'll be honest with you, I did not fully understand his entire argument around Soul versus Anderson, other than it seemed that he wanted to obviously distinguish when necessary between the two, but it was a little bit unclear to me what he ultimately wanted us to understand, other than, as he said at the end, we're going to be all right. But
to me, skimming through it, it seemed like he just saying that they're both landing, they're playing the same place, like they're the same type of people, or have the same type of analogy, and both of them are wrong, and they will be in disagreement with work like yours. So especially like in terms of like Black people misspending their money, they will. I mean, Claude,
he did say that they both agree that they wouldn't agree with my argument. He did say that, but he did seem to be distinguishing between the two. I don't think he was. I didn't get that he was trying to say that they were the same. Yeah, go ahead.
No, well, Claude Anderson is not. I mean, I would never put him on the level, despite my many disagreements. I would never disrespect Claude Anderson and say that he's in, because he's like, but the argument is that he's the anti-Thomas Sowell.
Mm-hmm.
He's the anti-Thomas Sowell. So Claude Anderson acknowledges, he wrote a book called Black Labor, White Wealth. Claude Anderson acknowledges that he acknowledged that we are an oppressed and targeted class of people. And we've been targeted by both the state and private interest. Whereas Thomas Sowell says that just the opposite. He said that Black people are hoodlums. We always want handouts. We're not willing to work. And Thomas Sowell said he personally, in the early 60s, had never personally experienced racial hostility or discrimination that he hears these other Blacks always complaining about. So I think he grew I don't think he, like, I don't think there's, like he says, it's the anti-Thomas Sowell. So I think he drew a very straight line and built a high wall between those two men. And I don't think that, I think Thomas Sowell should be just, as Claude said, as Clark said, throw him to the waste cans of history. He's a bootlicking Uncle Tom handkerchief head coon, rabbit, foaming at the mouth coon. Whereas Claude Anderson, I think, is somebody with holes or flaws in his analysis, but I think it comes from a sincere place. And I think
one other clear difference is to Diallo's point, is that Claude Anderson talks to Black people, whereas Sowell talks about Black people to white people.
Well, he said he given up on Black people too a couple times too. So I don't know.
Did, and years ago. I mean that is, the one time I reached out to his office was 20 some years ago, and his office did tell me that there was no point. He was not giving interviews anymore because of that. But
wait. You find that in his book, he said Black people had a 20-year window to buy his leather hats and his fish. If we didn't buy that man's leather hats and fish, we would be relegated to a permanent underclass.
Yeah. There we go.
If Bob Law set up a fish store, I don't know where to get the leather hats. But I went to Bob
that
Law's
did
fish
happen.
store
Yeah.
and bought some supplements. I'm like, I don't eat fish. I'm vegan, but how do I support this? Because I don't want to be a permanent underclass. So Claude Anderson warned y'all. He gave y'all 20 years to get with his program. Remember, he was filling up convention centers and mega churches back in the early 90s. So he didn't give up on black folks. Black folks gave up on him. I ain't gonna let y'all sit here and lie on that man.
Longer black people. In addition to anti-blackness and increased population of Hispanic Americans and Asian Americans, meaning black folks won't be the majority minorities anymore, Dr. Anderson will go on to talk about how in order to avoid being a permanent underclass in this society, we, black people, need to be more aggressive and competitive against immigrant groups in order to get to white society. That doesn't mean he wants black people to be a part of white society.
And so in Winston-Salem, we had our own buses. And so when that movement was successful in Alabama, came up to Winston-Salem, and blacks in Winston-Salem says, we want to ride on front of some white buses. So we said, we don't have any white buses. They said, well, we'll get some so we can ride on the front of them.
I feel like a complete asshole because I never thought about that. Like that whole time they did the boycott, they should have been trying to establish their own bus company as opposed to wanting to ride. I never thought about that. Y'all boycotted for a year just to want to ride on the front?
See, you're a smart man.
So I just want to be clear when
didn't black people at that time create and maintain their own forms of transportation?
What?
What's freezing?
Charlemagne, Kanye, and Ice Cube.
I don't know how the hell we got here. We ain't never been here before.
So I just want to be clear when I was saying that I didn't. My lack of clarity was around this brother here and his political position, not Anderson's argument. But
his family owned the bus company, though.
Well, I mean, there's many problems with the point he was trying to make there.
I agree, but his people, his family owned the bus line, a private, and it wasn't public transportation. Public and public transportation does not mean the public. Public transportation means state funded or local
public business, private owned.
Huh? So he was talking about the private bus industry, comparing it to the public bus. So it's a distortion, number one. But I would just need to say that this is not an unbiased assessment on Claude Anderson's part. His family had to sell off their buses.
Well, I didn't know that part, but
Sorry.
Nah, but that's wild. I mean, but again, it's the same thing that it's the same kind of argument around the potential for black owned business to do what black people need. That's where Anderson and I tend to disagree politically in terms of what I understand about his work, and including the competition with immigrants. That sort of, to me, feeds into the problem. That's it. But I just want to be clear. We are clear as a show here that there is a wide cavernous gap between Anderson and Sowell. Even if we have our own potential disagreements with Anderson, they're not because we're saying he's the same as Sowell. So yeah, that's.
Remember, Claude Anderson stated that one of the tactics and strategies we could employ to avoid being go from majority minority to a third or second tier minority was to promote African immigration. And he said one of the things that greatly harmed the black community was moratoriums or strict limitations on the number of Africans who could come here. And then he went on to give an example of the Latin and Asian communities where they promote immigration from Asian countries and have systems to integrate new migrants into their larger established communities. So Claude Anderson of the 90s, it's kind of like wrestling, Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus the real American patriotic red and gold Hulk Hogan. So I'm talking about not Hollywood Dr. Anderson, but the old school Dr. Anderson was an advocate and a patriot of not just promoting African immigrants and Caribbean immigrants, but saying that Black Americans need to set up systems and institutions to integrate and create deliberate and strong bonds between Africans, Caribbeans, and the ADOS. So old school Claude Anderson ain't nobody we should sleep on. That's all I'm saying.
Like how old school? After Jimmy Carter, before Jimmy Carter?
If you read Dirty Little Secrets, if you read Black Power, don't read Power Comics.
Black Labor, White Wealth.
Fish sandwiches. Okay, but read
Black Labor, White Wealth.
Black Labor, White Wealth, and the first 3 volumes of Dirty Little Secrets. The third one's not that good. His son, I think his son wrote it. He claims he co-wrote it, but it's kind of a different tone. But all I'm saying is, bless Claude Anderson's heart, and it's not appropriate to put him in the box with Thomas bootlicking coon ass handkerchief head Uncle Tom Sowell. I mean, he was Tomming before Clarence Thomas. I mean, he made Clarence Thomas look like Kwame Ture. Thomas Sowell. And white boys love always quoting him.
Yeah. You talking about your fellow race man?
Quote Thomas Sowell, huh?
Your fellow race man, Clarence Thomas?
Yeah. I mean, that's the only good thing. That's a compliment. If he's a
I've seen his benefactors have given him a whole new life on YouTube as well. I mean, he's been
libertarians love him. The white libertarians, the alt left, the intellectual dark web. White folks, whenever they need to try to attack a black person online, they love being like, well, Thomas Sowell said y'all Negroes ain't shit. Your own
and that's more akin to what I meant and what I mean by what I think is the true relationship that Stephen A. Smith has to his benefactors, that the friendship exists only so that they can say when necessary, see, we have at least this one.
What is a true friendship, Jared? Because you're like,
I don't know.
They're together and they're chummy on air. Then they
what I mean is people who would
I don't know, BT, you think we friends with Jared? I think
people who
be dropping us off all the time. He be dropping us off. He only like us on Friday mornings sometimes. You know,
wow.
Give me a call after the show today, because I mean, Jared was like, "Yeah, they're friends.
Wow,
they have the same ideas. They go for drinks. Yeah, they play golf together. Yeah, he's the godfather of her first child. Yeah, they do all that, but they ain't friends." I'm like, "Well, goddamn, what does it take?"
You don't know the difference between various social. You don't even have even with people who have potentially been part of your extended friendship crew. Like you're really you're friends with them maybe because they're friends with someone else, or you're friends with them because they round out the. Yeah, I mean, but so that's all I mean. What a true friend. You don't recognize levels of friendship. You playing around, and then Geechee, you playing into it right now. You gonna play into it, Diallo, the main one, Strictly Business. He the EPMD. He on EPMD's album, Strictly Business.
That's the chill. You got to chill. You're the one that just sat there and described what I would call a friendship and said that don't mean shit. Where my money? Like goddamn.
Man. Wow. But you've never had someone, or were there someone who you friends just because they have the car? Or
that ain't no friendship. That's not a friendship.
But my point. But you hang with them. You in the car. You go to the club. You go to the party. You go to the show. You never had that, or were that?
Nah, man. That means you don't ever put gas.
My bad, man. Maybe I'm just projecting.
Because they had cars.
I'm just projecting. Oh, absolutely. I had social arrangements so I could get a ride somewhere. I look, hey, I'm just confessing and projecting. I apologize.
What's that book?
You pause.
You're like, yeah, man. Yeah. You gonna drive?
Diallo shady boy.
What's that book? Everybody be promoting that. So you gotta treat people like pawns and shit. Highly effective something. What's the book?
Man, cold.
That's
see, now I'm phony now. Jean Lamont, man, that's messed up.
What is a friend?
Okay, my bad. You all have had all the real friendships.
No, hey, you cool with the brother who used to give you free food at Domino's and shit. That's your homeboy. But when he stopped giving you that free food,
right.
When you start giving that free food, I don't remember that dude. I don't know that guy. Yeah, that's what Jared read. 40 laws of power.
I take the subway for I befriend somebody for a car.
Jared, what's law 24?
Subway.
What's law 24, Jared?
You know, I don't know.
That book is the wackest book, man.
People, man, look, I'm just too real for these YouTube streets. I understand. And there was no subway in the rough world of suburbia. If you don't have a car, you
It's a
stuck.
bus.
Yeah, do you know how?
Metro.
Let me tell you, there's no metro where I live. The bus and the bus is so infrequent, and it would take forever to get wherever you wanted to get, and it didn't go to another.
You didn't want to ride Claude's buses. You told Claude.
Pause.
We got 843 people in there. Shout out to the 843, Charleston, South Carolina.
Claude Anderson, man.
Hey, before we leave, and before we get to some of these comments, I'm curious to understand how y'all feel, what y'all been seeing about these encampments, these demonstrations on campuses.
So long.
Oh, damn. No, shout out to them. More power to them all.
Yeah, bless their hearts. Shut them down. But I guess, I mean, it took people how long before the campus movements and the on campus against the Vietnam War, and there never really was a campus movement against the atrocities in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I think, you know, this is a tradition that goes way back in U.S. Politics. So I'm glad, bless their hearts. They're part of a very, very proud tradition in Western resistance.
So what do you think about? Okay, so the calls, right? So Harvard invests over $200 million in companies on this UN list of Israeli settlements in Palestine. You got Colombia, like the third largest investor. They even got vacation rentals and with the company Airbnb on occupied Palestine. But yeah, so what do you think about the calls of their universities to take some of their, well, not take some of their, but stop investing this tuition money and all this money into this genocide? Like, would you say good call? They need to ask for more, or like what type of details have y'all been kind of like diving into by seeing these?
No, I think it's great, and I was trying to find this clip. A couple people had sent me. I just can never remember where to. But it was this Latino gentleman being interviewed at a protest about his daughter being a student and what he thought about her being involved in the protest. And what I thought he said was perfect in terms of a response, better than I had given the other day on the morning show, which was that essentially he was proud of her. And encouraged her and would go to jail with her if necessary, because they're on the right side of this argument around genocide, and they want to encourage the university system to withdraw support of the state of Israel and its genocidal policies. So I'm with all of it. I hope that I'm always a little skeptical about the maintenance of the energy into actual movement and organization, and having the sort of beautiful inertia just not end up fading into the Democratic Party or into Biden politics or something like that. But the initial response, they're always inspirational. I mean, so I love the energy and would like to see much more of it, and am reminded of how it seems, and I'm sure others have done better with this comparison, but it seems somewhat akin to what was happening around the anti-apartheid movement, that I've heard others for a long time say played not an insignificant role in causing the shift, as opposed as much to an end of the oppression there. But yeah, I mean, more.
So,
shout out to all of them.
So around the U.S. at least, there's a bunch of Jewish students in these different groups that participating into the protest. And some of these connections, like they're like direct connections. Colleges investing in the UN list. So the UN created a list of I don't remember the number, but quite a few businesses or corporations or organizations that is setting up shop and benefiting off of the Occupy Palestine. And other colleges showing academic arrangements with Israeli institutions located on the occupied land. Some universities investing in companies that's collaborating with the Israeli military and intelligence service. But Diallo, you think these things are in line, or there should be more, or what are your thoughts?
I think in this society, because there are so many ongoing atrocities and crises, that people engage in what I call atrocity hopping. And I guess if the students took to the concourse, if the students took to the streets for every major scale atrocity, they just literally would just be a homeless encampment, because there's so many ongoing crises and atrocities. I commend those efforts. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and be like the friendless pessimist and say it could just be, but there is a potential that it could be diffused into the Democratic, party and weak ass concessions, because what I see most people who cry out against the atrocities in Palestine is pretty much saying, carry out the genocide in a way that I can live with. It's more of people are not upset with the overall genocidal project. It's more so they're upset with the intensity of it and the methods, because again, this is an ongoing atrocity. And I went to a Congo, a joint protest between Palestine and Congo, and we went to the big Apple store up on the north side, which was hella convenient because that's where the vegan donuts be at. All the good vegan shit is up in the nice white neighborhood. So I went up there, and so I went to this Apple store, this mega Apple store protest, and there's a guy who came all the way from Oklahoma. He came all the way from Oklahoma to protest on behalf of the Congolese people and the Palestinian people. And I've been to Oklahoma, Laguala country, Oglala, Sioux Nation. He had to drive past half a dozen or fly over half a dozen genocides to get to the particular genocide he's protesting. There's an ongoing genocide in native country right there where he in his own backyard, where the Native American or First Nations concentration camps are splattered throughout Oklahoma, and they got those people literally living on toxic and nuclear waste dumps. So anyway, it's to speak to your question, it is inadequate. We should all be in ongoing upheaval and revolt. So to the extent that we can celebrate it, I think it should be commended and celebrated. But to ever say, oh, is it enough? No, it happened. It's too late and too little. And I'm saying that about all of us, not just the students. But I still commend it. Better than nothing, I suppose.
So, Jerry, I'm also curious. So that when you think about propaganda and media, so you still have, as of yesterday, media saying stuff like, the actions that took place on October 7th started, right? So there's zero historical literacy, misleading propaganda, major corporate-owned media. And then one could say the average person knows like very little about Hamas, because there's still like this idea that we'll still have to condemn Hamas. But
I don't condemn Hamas.
I wonder, do you see like
Iraqi insurgents?
Do you see like despite the media continuously pumping this thing, the propaganda isn't really working now? Or like, how do you kind of like
Well, they've acknowledged, we've talked about it here. I mean, they've acknowledged it's not working and that more needs to be done to bring everybody back onto the plantation, so to speak. And that's what all these protests are demonstrating. But to Diallo's point, which resonates very well with me, there is still the ability for the propaganda, even on the so-called left, to be part of the containment, to be part of the counterinsurgency effort, to again also keep everybody from going too far. So that's where I become concerned with elements in the Black community who with very prominent platforms tell Black people that there's no need to be in solidarity with Palestinians, and who would then also, to Diallo's point, not advocate that. In other words, they're not saying replace your rebellious activism for Palestinians with rebellious activism against white supremacy here, or in defense of the indigenous, or in defense of yourself. It just becomes a sort of don't support them and basically just go back to business as usual, literally, pun intended. So that's where that's ultimately my biggest concern, or among my bigger concerns, because and where my skepticism comes in. But I'm happy to be proven wrong, and look forward to it.
All right. Diallo, anything else before we get to some Q&As? I know we got like 30 minutes before we have to dart out and get on with our days. Any other thoughts?
I'd like for us to find a friend for Jared. So I know there's some apps out there, Grinder or whatever, where go on.
Wait, Grinder? Is that really a thing?
I heard it's where males can find true connection and companionship. That's a good point to freeze. It's just man,
Pause.
I'm a hardcore alpha, but it's very rare that things touch my heart. Just for you to describe what a friend is, you gotta get a friend to share.
Yo, I just googled the Grinder for real. What's wrong with you, man?
I think he should have a friend, and
okay, all right. Do you want to pull up what Grinder is?
No. Greg said it exactly right. Greg summarized it right there.
I mean, but why you throwing that man on Grinder like that?
Flag on the play.
I guess Jared is my co-host.
Diallo is wild. Diallo is
you on EYL, and I'm like, yes, I'm on EYL with a friend and a co-host.
I never even heard of it, and it's spelled different too. So interesting.
I'm just saying, you need to make a friend.
Los Angeles 15. That's wild.
Just
anyway, let's
got what I need. He just needs a friend, man, because that was depressing. And he's so long that he got to imagine that nobody has friends.
Well, I don't think Grindr got something to do with how old Grindr been out, because I never heard of this thing. But hold on. Oh, 2009. I don't think I'm old, but I just ain't never heard. I thought it was something else. Isn't it another social app that sounds similar to that? Tinder, right?
Tinder.
But that's what I thought you were trying to say. So I didn't.
No, he needs some companionship. So.
Hey man,
I have friends. I got friends.
Shout out to that morning 20. We get a morning 20 every morning. I think brother trying to get us a cup of coffee and
right on. Peace. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you that. And then now you're rewatching the show. Appreciate you always.
All right, yeah. Let's get to these comments because Jared got to go down the lonely path. I've never heard. Looking for a replay.
Also, love Brady. Also looking for after putting my bandana
on and cutting up my credit cards and marching in the streets.
What
In
band?
the sewers, in the sewers.
Can you tell librarian that cutting up your credit cards don't erase the debt though? Some people are like, yeah, now, get me now. But he's still gonna be like,
nothing. No, nothing.
Still collector's gonna be right there in the trenches with you with a helmet on. What can you do?
But that was a shout out to Afro Sings, man. That was a reference to the whole thing.
Don't bring that back up.
That was hilarious. Librarian brought it up. That was brilliant.
That's
Dredging up old shit.
Joe Black, DC Joe Black, Jab. Don't they know what they're doing, inviting you to Alabama, breaking dollars, breaking myths and hearts?
You know, I on some level, I think that they do know, and I think that part of it is that they like that over the years, I've sometimes more explicitly than others, I've been asked or told, we want you to be that guy at this thing because we can't do it. We need these arguments made, but we can't do it. So please, you do it. And going back to my childhood, I end up being the political Mikey who's gonna sit there and happily dig into the cereal. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm happy to do it. But yeah, so I think
like you get that reference. Geechee sitting there not yes.
No, I'm saying to this. No Diddy gonna be changed to no Diallo. That's what I was.
Yeah, really. I'm with you. But then you got Skeet DePeedy. That's your name. That's the most pause no Diddy name ever. What is going on?
Back at you.
Exactly.
You should say no. Don't be the political Mikey. Be the political Scarface. I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, I'm the bad guy. Say hello to the bad
academic. Say hello to the bad academic.
You need people like me.
Right. Don't say
so you
Mike.
Need people like Anthony D.
Geechee's like, what? Mike?
Will socialism make us better parents?
Gotta make our show age appropriate.
Man, chill out, man. Would socialism make us better parents? Would socialism read us?
Rid us, I'm sure, from serious crime.
Yeah.
Listen, to the extent that all crimes are, well, of course, yes, you're right, yes.
Make the empty promises.
You're right.
Because if he believes in capitalism, then he don't want no, absolutely, yes. A chicken in every pot. Your hair will grow back.
Again, I'm anecdotally the lived experience. As soon as that little bit of a safety net was taken away, I immediately was attempting to be a criminal. Immediately.
Jared's about to go into an explanation.
No, that's it. You're right. That's it. That's it.
Absolutely.
That's survival economy getting that bag.
You will gain 3 inches. Under socialism, every man will gain 3 inches.
Pause.
Like those
Again.
If people believe in capitalism, then
no, you're right. You're right. No, you're right. But that is true. I mean, if everybody had time and vacation and
see, here you go. Stop trying to explain. Just like I said, when
they said most of his questions are disingenuous. It's
not a genuine question. It doesn't deserve a genuine answer. So absolutely.
I'm certain that most people in this chat can't even define socialism. Let's try it really quick. Everybody in chat, define socialism really quick, as fast as you can.
I think Boots Riley did it for us the best in one of his recent in Virgo, I think it was, where he put it in there, but I've heard him in interviews, the democratic control of wealth.
Okay, what everybody got in chat? Don't copy Jared. Socialism is when? Socialism is when free stuff.
Free stuff.
See?
You're right. My bad. Yeah, there we go. Never mind. Just don't even worry about it. Somebody said no idea. Workers owns means of production.
Yeah.
The masses have control of the means
of
production.
What's up, Alicia?
They come in with pre-uploaded responses like free stuff.
Are we going to open the chat? What do you mean open the chat? Like pulling up like this? The chat is open.
Not today. We don't have time today.
Oh, you're talking about dropping.
Talking about jumping in the chat. I don't think we have time. I don't have time. I gotta leave in a few minutes.
All right, let's go to the next one. Chidamacha, I wish somebody was teaching socialism in schools. They aren't even teaching grammar.
Exactly.
They teaching grammar.
We don't
They
even do
teach grammar
cursive
in school.
anymore.
Read, writing, and
AP English is kicking my son's butt. If he saw that, he'd come in here and flip over this desk.
Actually, you know what? That's a good point.
AP English is my son.
My straight A daughters, one of them came home with a B, a current B in English, and and their mother's always like, "Don't you speak? Don't you speak this language?"
Well, I think
it's rough. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's rough.
I think
I probably would fail. I think I would fail an AP English test.
So what about timetables?
My sister got her first B in 8th grade, and she was crying because she thought she was gonna get in trouble. So,
hey, you do get in trouble in our house. You come home with a B.
Well, I was crying that
when I was growing up. If I came home with a B, it'd have been praise, and it'd have been like causing heart attacks out of shock. Like, how the hell did that happen? We've never seen a grade this high before in our lives. What do
you tell a teacher? He done served the teacher. You see, he in a survival economy again. He's serving his teachers. All right. Post a question. Should your employer strive to pay you as little as possible for your work and time? That's that person.
Should they? No, but that's their goal, more or less.
No, I think what they was trying to explain is how to do a survey for socialism to see how people really feel about socialism. Yeah, and then they had actually a couple of questions.
When they do legitimate surveys and they put questions in there that are asking questions about capitalism and socialism without identifying them, they find upwards of 80% of the population lean towards socialist or communal policies. Very few people actually consciously and deliberately. That's why they keep saying capitalism is entrepreneur. Capitalism is owning a business. They never talk about the appropriation of people's labor. They never talk about private control over resources and things of that nature, multinational corporation and monopolies. So all they've got people think capitalism equals entrepreneurialism. And then, if we have a socialist government, they're going to kick in the door of my cousin's barbershop or snatch my auntie's fish fry business. And we won't be able to do that. So they have no concept of what they're agreeing with, and they have no concept of what they're against. That's the reality.
Who in the hell said this? When? How? Stephen A?
That's just a quick no, and let's move on.
You got a hairline.
Africans can live under any system. We should choose
this. This is absolutely untrue.
Who the hell is what?
Can live under? Yeah, I mean, well, theoretically, yeah, we can live under anything, but live, thrive. Live in, how are we living? The quality of that lived experience is that's the question.
That's why people think we can come upon revolution by accident,
and we can survive
no established ideology. We need no established or predetermined values. We don't need to determine social relationships or even have a concept of justice. Once we get free. And I'm not even sure how you start to approach freedom or even define freedom. And then once we get free, then we say, what type of system do we want? As if the system is going to evolve out of the struggle. The nature of the struggle and the tone and the directions, the priorities, the methods, tactics, and strategies of the struggle will determine the system. That system isn't just something you pick up off the shelf like a product. The system is something that often organically forms itself. So no, we can't live under any system. I don't even agree with that, but you don't get to choose a system as you go. The system you choose is what revolution, because some systems will have you right back. And the fact that we've been through this, we've had liberated, decolonized African countries continue on with the colonial economics, colonial infrastructure, colonial political system, under African control, and the atrocities and exploitation continue. Mobutu, Jomo Kenyatta, Nelly Mandela.
Well, you can call who you want, but somebody call you a hypocrite.
I'm just saying that's just a falsehood that I hear a lot of people articulating. And Dr. Clark got people on that. I vehemently disagree with Dr. Clark on that point.
This Rob Morrow. This response to Stephen A. Smith and Roland Martin, and based on what happened last week, this reflects your hypocrisy on the map. Jared,
I don't know what that even means, but I'm sure he's wrong.
Well, maybe you should ask him out to dinner to discuss it. Ask him what his interests are, who you be with.
Things that make them smile. What numbers are that? You gonna do it?
Okay.
That's me. Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Maybe y'all should go out and discuss it.
Yo, Diallo, my
I'm sure he
man.
has a car, Jared. That's an in for you.
All right, man. Let's keep going.
Jared,
I don't have time for this today. Diallo is wild today. Diallo is wild.
Jared, will you go out on outing with that brother?
I gotta see. Just say no. Just say no. No, I gotta see. No, just say no. I gotta see.
Pause.
So don't answer that on air, Jared. You answer that on over dinner.
Oh man, thank you, El Jimenez. Gifted 5 BPM memberships. Thank you very much.
And then another one, 6. Shout out to the gift giver.
Oh, one more, right on. What's wrong with his family owning the bus line? Do you not get the kid?
I don't want nobody to have what I ain't got. I said nothing's wrong with his family owning a bus line. I'm saying, but here's what's wrong with it. I think it skewed his analysis. I think his family, having owned a black-owned bus line and having lost it in the post-civil rights era, has skewed his analysis. That's the only critique that I was trying to give. I don't think his analysis is I think he's a little too emotionally invested in that event to have a cogent analysis on that particular phenomenon in the post-civil rights era. See, I'm giving.
I guess he said we was cherry picking like Dr. Mayat did us.
That's ridiculous. Well, first of all, Rob is cherry picking because if you go back over the multiple years of commentary, criticism, both in video, written, etc., even back and forth on Twitter, that I myself, wait, now, hold on. Never mind that we have engaged over the years. This has been a consistent critique. So, if anything, it's he who is cherry picking inaccurately. But I want to move on. Rob is just, I don't want, why are we paying Rob so much attention? He's just constantly wrong and doesn't even do an honest, genuine service to our argument.
Jared,
I'm talking about, there's many more comments, but Geechee is skipping the starred comments to engage Rob for some reason. I don't know why.
He's trying to make you a friend.
He had a up there. All right, let's go to Ray then.
Thank you, Ray.
But don't Anderson and Sorrell both agree the system fundamentally works. Jab, your book implies the system needs deep change. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, and I appreciate. Thanks for the super chat, and that's where I'm saying where Anderson and Sowell and I all disagree, where they both disagree with me. That's correct. All I was saying was that even though we may disagree, they are not on the same page. So that's the only distinction I wanted to draw right now, is that Sowell is not Anderson, though yes, both of them would disagree with me on at least that point.
But that's probably the only thing they agree on, because Anderson is literally like welfare, reparations, handouts, set-asides, grants, publicly funded banks to funnel money, progressive taxation. He is very pro. In fact, he went so far as to say anytime black folks has been in trouble in this country, it's been the federal government that has bailed us out. Whereas Sowell is a libertarian, for more or less. He thinks the government should only engage in law enforcement and military. Other than we don't need the government for nothing.
Shout out to my big brother Jamil. Thank you for the super chat. Love and respect to you all, my dear brothers. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Diallo, you're gonna have lunch with him when you come to Baltimore.
Who? Me?
Yeah, remember?
I'm all for making friends.
Oh, okay.
I ain't trying to live in isolation.
Enjoy your show's dialogue. It's an objective point of view. Anderson is Boyce Watkins' daddy. God damn.
I mean, that ain't too far wrong. I mean, he love him. He loves some Claude.
That's true.
He love him some Claude.
New Claude or old Claude? Claude,
Yeah, I don't know which Claude
has gone through a very, very steep ideological and tactical transformation. So you got 90s Claude and you got 2000.
But what about 80s Claude, Jimmy Carter? You got any of his stuff back there?
He was on payroll. That was his job. He was on payroll. So we don't judge him by that. I'm talking about the work he did in the streets for the people then.
All right. Them people them. All right. So they got snipers on the rooftop.
Gave me a job. I'm supposed to say no. I don't think Geechee would judge me too harshly if I took this here job.
I mean, it just depends on what job you take, brother. But yeah, so,
the irritated Bouse Genie, he was working for intelligence agencies while out here calling for race war, and then he went to the military.
Then ain't you supposed to stop calling him that, man?
Specify which side he would be
man,
on.
I don't want to get another letter, man.
He gonna get another letter.
It's a job. You can't judge somebody by how they eat.
All I know is you're gonna be in that man neck of the woods.
I don't want to get another letter, man. I don't want another letter.
Y'all see me out here handing out Biden flyers, putting them under your windshield wipers. Believe you me, I'm on payroll. I ain't doing this because I believe
the African litigious community is no joke.
You're gonna be in that man neck of the woods. He roll up on you now. Don't ask me, Jay, to help you. Ohio State has snipers on the roof too. Wow.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I saw a lot of military gear in those clips. A lot of militarized police gear in those clips.
That ain't
this was a response to the propaganda wars and why they banned TikTok.
That's right. That's right. They want exclusive monopoly over the propaganda system. So that's exactly right. And
isn't it more like a hostile takeover than a banning?
Okay.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, those are two different things.
Well, they kind of have the same end goal of how controlling the
that's true,
narrative.
but it's just two different. It's more like a hostile takeover, like the kind of things you see in a communist country where the government could just come and take over a private enterprise.
I mean, that is another remarkable contradiction. They immediately, as soon as their business interests and political interests were upset, they ran to the government and said, "We need a new law, boss."
The bugger got no shame, right? So they doing a communism, or what they claim is communism.
Yeah, you got a question from your old show.
What?
On your show, you said that we need 10 to 300 year plan.
100 to 300 years.
I'm sorry,
100 to 300.
100 to 300 year plan.
Yes. Well, as Claude Anderson said.
No, don't do that. Don't start that way.
I can't quote Claude Anderson.
Oh, not here. Don't do that here, man. We got bills.
Can I quote Dale Jones?
You know you can.
Okay. Dale Jones said revolution is a process, it's not an event. And revolution is just not black people getting our share of resources. It's not just black people getting our own territory. Revolution is a restoration of the planet's ecosystems and biodiversity. Revolution is establishing and institutionalizing all hierarchies in social relationships. So even if we all woke up tomorrow and everybody who could be defined as a racist and oppressors had vanished into the ether, we would still have to go about this process of renewal. Or as Claude Anderson said, if you drive into a garage, you got to reverse out of it. And the distance you go into something is the same distance you got to use to come out of something. So yes, we can be looking at a multi-generational, multi-century liberation effort. And the problem is, and the reason we get so discouraged and we fail to identify that is because we think one uprising, we take it to the streets, or we get legislation, or we get a check cut, and then it's done. And when they make these concessions, to go back to Dale Jones, generally when the state or the government or racist oppressors make concessions to us, they call that loosening up to get a tighter grip. Even the good shit and the things they give us are nothing more than an attempt to re-legitimize or re-entrench something that is losing its legitimacy, such as a political party or an economic system or a multinational corporation or institution or even a powerful, vested, wealthy family. I mean, people out here dancing in the streets over Jeff Bezos' wife.
What's she do?
He's giving away billions of dollars. When Jeff Bezos' wife, the problem is not that billionaires don't give away their money or donate enough. The problem is billionaires shouldn't exist. So yes,
so
when
because
they do good, they do it wrong. So
because I got to go real quick, can we? I definitely thank you. I wanted to get to this one. Doc Jab, I'm still looking forward to the day you and Antonio Moore can have a debate on black spending power. So this is a fascinating comment to me and speaks to what I think is the constant, persistent confusion around what they're saying and what I've been saying and where we disagree. There is no debate. They don't debate. They don't disagree with me on that. Yvette and Tone cite my work on that issue. They have always supported my argument on that issue. The disagreement is around the solution, which for them is exclusively within the white supremacist settler colonial state of the United States federal government, and mine extends beyond to the Pan-African and anti-imperialist global community. So as a quick one-line summary. So no, there wouldn't be a debate on that. They cite my work and have cited my work in when making that argument. So yeah. But thank you for raising that point. Good people, I do gotta go. I gotta run. So I will dip out and let you all close us out. I put up, if you wanna run it at the end, Geechee, I put up a new part of the, not only the outro, but the new quick little promo for Baltimore. So with the correct date on it. So
definitely. And shout out
peace if you're willing to fight for it. Thanks everybody. And I will catch you all soon. Thanks fellas. Diallo, Geechee. I'll see you all soon too.
All right.
Peace.
So just a few more. $4.99. What advice, resources, and guidance would you give these students? Again, co-op. The students engage in these demonstrations. You got some advice?
Yeah, I have advice and I have guidance. I ain't got no resources for them. Tell them to ask their mama. They at Columbia. They at these good schools.
Rob their parents and fund the revolution.
I would definitely tell them, number one, remain steadfast. Number two, in the area where they are, they need to reach out with established organizations and organizers and don't allow it to be isolated to the campus, because isolation is death. And that's what they will try to do. They will try to encapsulate them. So a student movement can only be viable if it becomes a workers' movement and a community movement and a women's movement. So they have to, that is a good seed. That is fertile soil. But they should always have an expansionist mind state and not just expand in terms of their connections and alliances. They also need to expand the scope. Palestine is a good rally point, but overall capitalism, imperialism, famine in the I've been to a couple of Palestinian protests, but the biggest one I went to is when they made the connection between Congo and Palestine, Sudan, Haiti. So have an aggressive expansionist mindset and to entrench what you do, and don't think that there's no such thing as diluting justice. So don't think, well, this is what we focus on. Don't allow yourself to do that, because then they can encapsulate and eventually pick you off. But go hard.
Shout out to Ray Sang. Shout out to this $100. Appreciate that. And there are in the chat ways you can donate to the event and get your ticket at your price.
People like capitalist language. You got to use success. There are ways you can sponsor the event.
Oh, okay.
We need community sponsorship, not donations.
Sponsors also gives another energy,
Exactly. That's the energy we want. The energy of success.
Being your
business.
Okay. All right. We got a couple more.
Tithe.
No, we can't do tithes because you don't mess up our ability to get tithes. So
tithe to our venture. Bless us.
So that's a radical disagreement. The radical disagreement, though. What? That's a radical disagreement, though, Diallo.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, no Diallo. No Diallo instead of no no Diallo instead of no
Diddy.
Diddy, yeah.
Mm-mm.
And then
listen,
the last one,
he has been 100% consensual.
Ray dropping the dollars. The last one, thanks for being y'all. Keep it up.
Huh?
Thanks for being y'all. Keep it up. That's it.
Yes.
We done.
Okay, that's it. We got through it. Without Jared, we don't need Jared. He ain't our friend.
I mean, Jared don't.
We got to end this one-sided friendship we have with Jared.
Let's get the money from him first, then we can end it.
Okay, and then we'll. She can pick him up. I got a car. I'll drive, and you pay for dinner, and then he'll.
Nah, man, we're gonna get donations for dinner too.
Yeah, he's friends for cars and food.
We selling books. What you got going on, man? I know you got to go too. What you got going on?
Oh, I'm having a get together. I got some organizers from this. She's from Senegambia, coming from, but lives in Europe, and I got a mixer this evening, and I'm going to be working with the local radical Black feminists to open up a cooperative bookstore and cafe, vegan. So I gotta talk to people and make friendships and reach out to people, unlike Jared. Wow. You said you're in Texas?
Yeah, I'm in Houston.
You know, I didn't send you your cup.
I know. And I'm probably not gonna get it.
Send cup. Huh? I didn't know where to send it.
I gave you the address.
You said send it there if I can get it to you by this time.
By the end of the month
or something. Huh?
By at the end of the month. Yeah.
What the hell? I don't go off at end of the month and what?
Man, you know, sometimes people just, be, housing is a little,
you know, be somewhere long enough, 7 business days.
Housing is not a human right, Diallo.
Huh?
Housing ain't a human right, Diallo. Matter of fact, I got an address you can send it to. Never mind. I'm gonna send it to another address. Housing ain't a human right. Anyway, we finishing up the last
time limitation. This ain't Amazon.
We finishing up Jackson Rising, which is an excellent book. Should go through it several times. Last session is Monday. And that's all we got going on. But what I'm gonna do is to close us out, I'm gonna make sure that we get this promo in. So if you haven't sponsored
tickets, there's limited tickets for the event. So go to Eventbrite, Earn Your Liberation in Baltimore, and you can pay whatever you can pay. We've had people pay as little as $1. We've had people who were generous enough to sponsor, to tithe, to hook us up, and paid as much as $50 for a ticket. But you can determine how much you pay. We didn't want cost to be a barrier to people coming through. But that makes us dependent on your contributions to the GoFundMe for the event. So, and if this live is successful, then we will be going from city to city, state to state.
Detroit next up. Short out.
Is it Detroit?
Yeah, that would be the next one in
Y'all made a decision. Okay.
You made the decision too, brother.
We going to the Canadian border, huh?
The democratic centralism. You made the choice too. You don't remember?
No, I don't remember that.
It's messed up. Wait, was there another $100? Goodness gracious. This brother was that again? Oh, that's the first one. I don't know. Anyway, all right, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for coming through. And we'll see you.
If you were willing to fight for it. Did he say that?
Nah, we ain't fighting for peace right now. Jared gotta have friends first. You gotta have friends, and then we can fight for peace. You can't fight for peace if you don't got no friends. If you can't make friends, then you ain't gonna be able to fight for peace. You'll be by yourself.
Just professional. We just not gonna hang out with after. You throw the Molotov and go home. Everybody go their separate ways.
All right.
Oh man,
see y'all next week, and then a couple weeks. See y'all in Baltimore. Here's the promo, and then we in and out. Peace
coming soon. Get on board the train.
You got to earn your liberation. You got to earn your liberation.